Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second broadcast and did get the video working. So excited about that. Welcome to Ascended Unity Talks. You're only one thought away. And I'm Cheryl Piper and founder of Alchemy Holistic Life Coach and CherylPiper.com Ascended Unity. And, we're here today to talk about just the things that are holding you back. And our first broadcast, I, kind of did a little bit of a background on me and who I am, and just a little bit of that story of, just some of the things that I've gone through and really understanding and moving through those challenges that, they're really gifts and lessons that just help us to move forward. And it's really about helping other people that are in those situations. So that's what we're going to talk about. I said we are talking here from 12 noon until 12:30, and I'm on Eastern time, and it is snowing in southern Pennsylvania. I wish I could show you a picture outside. Big flakes coming down. It's been very cold, kind of unseasonably cold, so it's really sticking right away. And so glad I am here and warm and talking with you. So I mentioned on our first broadcast that we were going to talk about perceptions, and so I kind of have some things listed out, and just wanted to bring that up. I am not actually able to see my chat box, so I do apologize. If we're chatting and I don't get back with you, I'm actually here by myself and just kind of learning what I need to do here. And I will respond to your questions. And you can always reach me at Cheryl at CherylPiper.com. So that's, you can always send me a message there if you want to talk about something or have a question. So let's start off today with talking about what's holding you back. And so I have a few questions. As I mentioned on my last broadcast, if you look at my website, CherylPiper.com, on that homepage, there's a few questions that I go through as far as, what's holding you back? What are you holding on to from your past that's holding you back from moving into the space or being what you want to be or having what you want to have? And so we're going to start by looking at perception and talking about those areas. Also, I have a few questions that I wanted to bring up. I have on my other screen. So when talking about perception, does perception really order reality? And we're going to dive into that. Can we change the way we feel about a person or an event? And, is that as easy as changing the pictures in our head as far as what we're seeing, what we are repeating over and over again? Because, a thought that we repeat over and over again becomes a belief. And so therefore, by changing those pictures in our head and changing the thoughts that we're having, we actually move into changing and creating a new belief. And hence my tagline, you're only one thought away. And you're only one thought away from peace. You're only one thought away from joy. You're only one thought away from happiness. You're only one thought away from creating the life that you want. So, you change, or you create the end to that sentence. You're only one thought away. And what's important to you? And what is it that you want to work on to move forward? And we're going to be talking about perception and how that can help you in changing your thoughts. So also, are we victims of the world around us? Can we simply choose to perceive things differently? And I mentioned when we were in, I was in the first broadcast where it was simply audio only, that and you can have two people who experience the same exact situation, and they're going to speak about it differently depending on where they are in their perception and how they think. Are they someone who thinks in a positive way and they live in a positive space? And therefore, they view things from that lens of perception. Are they someone who is negative? They live in that negative space. They talk about things that are in a negative way. Something's always happening to them, something's always going wrong, someone's always doing something to them. And always looking outside of themselves as to what's creating that sadness or that bad thing that's happening to them. And so when we view things from that window, then we're going to see it differently than someone who views it from a window of coming from love, coming from compassion, coming from kindness. We're going to view it differently. So, um, we're going to spend the time that we have today looking at those things. And, if a person chooses to live in hope, love, kindness, and it's just really what I was saying earlier, perceiving in that way, is that going to influence their life? Is that going to influence how they view things? Absolutely. Um, yeah, I can think of a lot of stories. But let's look at the neuroscience of what's going on. I told you we were going to talk about that too. And so, in perceiving those things, I'm actually a coach with conversational intelligence, or CIQ, and we talk a lot about perception and the way we perceive things and what's going on in the brain, what's happening. And there's an area of your brain, and it's called the amygdala. And it's in the limbic system. And this amygdala that everyone has is our protector. It is always scanning for threats. And so when we meet someone and they perceive to be a threat to us, like it could be their body language, it could be the way they speak, it could be the harshness of their voice, it could be the slyness of their voice, any of these things. And it kind of ignites that amygdala in our brain, and we start to think, maybe this is somebody we don't trust. Maybe this is someone I can't really trust. And so we're having that perception. We are perceiving that situation from a space of protect mode, because our amygdala has been ignited and it is trying to protect us from what it perceives to be a threat. And so, therefore, in viewing things from that window, and I'm sure we've all had this happen, everybody who's listening has had this happen, where you meet someone and there's just some kind of, I guess you can say it's energy that is just happening, that you're thinking, something just doesn't feel right. And things can look good. This person can even maybe speak well, but there's a feeling that's happening that you're thinking, something just doesn't feel right. And that is that area of the brain that is talking to you. And so when we have that amygdala hijack, well, that's what it's called, amygdala hijack. It's really important for us to get back to thinking in a creative space as quickly as possible. Because when we're in a threat or protect mode, we can't really see things for what they are, because our view of perception has been really narrowed. That window has been really narrowed down to, I need to protect, I need to protect, I need to protect. And so we're going to talk a lot more about that as we go through these talks. I want to get into that a little bit deeper and actually show you, I'll share a bit of my, pull up some of the PowerPoints that I have, and we'll actually walk through and look at some diagrams on what's happening in the brain when we go into situations like this. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of just an overview of a few things we're going to go through as we move through these talks. And just a preview again, I'm doing this every Monday and Wednesday, 12 noon to 12:30 Eastern Time. I don't think I said that at the beginning, so I apologize for that, but wanted to get that in there. And so, moving forward with discussing perceptions. One of the things I wanted to talk about is when we are looking at things that are in our past and holding us back from moving forward. When we have had a situation, like I shared with you at our last talk, I had gone through a devastating divorce and a job loss at the same time. And this was 2009. It was one of my biggest life lessons. And, I can see that now. I allowed myself to move through that situation. And as I view it, once I moved into that forgiveness space, and I guess a good word is hindsight. When you come into, being able to see things with hindsight, you can look back on a situation and see, wow, that needed to happen for me to be where I am now, for me to have moved into this space where I'm doing what I'm doing now. And by me recognizing that and not staying in a victim space or talking about the story over and over in my mind in a negative, damaging way, I'm able to move into that hindsight moment to be able to view it with a different perception. Things first happen to us, it's it's kind of a shock. And I always say, fresh wounds, when things have very new, have very just happened, those things need consoling. They need counsel. They need for you to be able to talk about it and help you move through it. And kind of just a little guide that, I've always used, and I tell this to my friends, that when a situation happens and, I need to discuss it, I always say, please just listen to me talk about this for 3 times. That's it. Let me talk about it 3 times, and then I need to move on. I'm asking you to love me enough to not allow my wounds to have that kind of power over me. Simply tell me enough. We need to move through this. You have discussed it 3 times. I've given all my friends permission for that because it's important for those people around you that you really trust, and they're the ones that are there for you, to be able to give them that type of permission to allow them to help you to see what perhaps you can't see when you're in the moment. Because if I've talked about it 3 times and I'm still talking about it, I want them to say, hey, what's really going on here? And what help do you need to move through this? Because, we've given you 3 times to talk about this. We've chatted about it. You've been able to disperse this energy that was inside of you for this situation. Now, how can we help you move through it? So it's great to have people around you that you have that kind of connection with, and you can trust like that, to be honest with you. Because if you surround yourself with people who are simply just going to say, yes, 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 oh my goodness, that's just awful, that's just awful, that's just awful, and keep you stewing and talking about the situation, that's not helping you to move through it. So important for you to find mentors. If you don't know someone around you that can help you, maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's finding someone online, like, I'm here talking to you now, that can help you to stay centered in that space that's going to help you to move through and recognize when things have been talked about too much and you're holding on to it. I mean, I have talked to people, and I'm sure you've been in this situation, but I have talked to people who are bringing things up from, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and they're still talking about it like it just happened yesterday. And when I hear these stories from people, my first question is, "Oh my goodness, like, when did this happen?" And then I hear, "Oh, well, it happened when I was in high school," or, "It happened, in my early 20s," or "It happened 20 years ago, it happened 10 years ago." And I realize that in listening to the story, that they have it so fresh and so crisp in their mind when they're telling it, and they've been telling that for 10 years, they've been telling that for 5 years in that way, that really cements a situation into your life, into your mind, into your thoughts, into your perceptions, into how you are going to make decisions moving forward in your life. And do you really want to make decisions moving forward into your future from a space of pain or disappointment or sadness or regret or any of those emotions that you're feeling from the past? Wouldn't it be better to deal with that situation from the past, move yourself into present time, forgive whatever that situation is, or whatever you perceived happened to you, or that you perceived someone did to you, and really move into a forgiveness space so that you are fully present and making decisions to move forward in your life with that power of kindness, with that power of love, with that power of compassion, with that clarity in your perception that comes from moving past a situation that no longer serves you. And that's one of the things that we need to look at as well, is by reliving a pain from the past, how is it serving you in the future? How is it serving you in the present moment? Eating pain? Because kind of back to what I was talking about that hindsight moment of where you reach that space of being able to look back and say, wow, you know, I understand what happened. I understand why it happened. And I understand why that needed to happen for me to move forward, for me to move forward into who I am. And so the shorter that we can keep that space between something happening and that hindsight moment, that is where we can really create happier space for ourselves. Because when we look at people who, well, let's just say, um, you see someone who has a situation, they've gone through a painful situation, and in what seems like almost a blink of an eye, or it doesn't seem like there's much time has passed at all, they're speaking about it from a space of wisdom. They're speaking about it from a space of that it's not controlling them. They're not living in that negative space. They're not talking about it like they're a victim. They're speaking about it with the wisdom from that lesson to be able to see, well, wow, that happened. So I was able to do this, which is a good thing. That happened. So I was able to take the time to spend with my kids. This happened. So I was able to take the time to realize that, maybe that isn't really the job that I wanted, or maybe that isn't really the situation that I wanted, a relationship or whatever, given you that time to move into who and what you want to be. And so the shorter that space is, the happier people are. You'll see that they're just happy people. And then the longer that space is, the more time it takes you to go from that moment of disappointment or a situation happening to you. And if it's a really long time before you get to that hindsight moment, or maybe you haven't even gotten to the hindsight moment yet from something 10 or 20 years ago, it's not serving you, and it's holding you into a space of being unhappy. And so looking at that, or creating a space where we can shorten that hindsight moment, where we can shorten that space between a situation and seeing the wisdom in what happened, and forgiving the situation and really letting it go. And I guess that's probably the best way to say it. Absolutely letting it go so that it doesn't have any control over you anymore. And that's the same with a person, with a place, with a thing, whatever that is. In looking around and looking around at my office that you're seeing, everything in here, it only has the meaning that I give it. And so I can be attached to it in a way that is holding me back, or I can understand that it's simply a book. It's a very helpful book. I learned a lot from it. I love my salt lamp. I see you can probably see my salt lamp, my round salt lamp on my desk. That's great. Puts a nice atmosphere into the air. I don't have any connection to it other than that. So not holding on to things that are not serving you, not holding on to things that are holding you back. So once again, this is talking about perception in um, perceiving things to be good, perceiving things to be peaceful, perceiving things to be, oh my goodness, just isn't it awful? Perceiving things to be, that is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Now what do I do? That's a statement of power right there. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Now what do I do? That is you acknowledging that this is awful, but opening up the space to say, now what do I do? And allowing that insight to come in, and allowing yourself to perceive things perhaps a little differently in moving forward. Because as I mentioned before, gratitude is a good place to start. When we can truly look around and see the things that we're grateful for, all the things that we have, rather than talking about the things that we don't have, or I want this sometime in the future. Look at the things that you have. Look at the people who are in your life. Look at your health. Look at your wealth. Look at your home. Look at your family. All of these things that are in your life to be grateful for. And when we can do that, it really puts out a completely different energy. Because when I think that in my mind and I drop it to my heart and push out that energy from my heart space, hmm, that that is taking a thought and it's putting it into an emotion and pushing that energy out. And when we do that, we can feel it and others can feel it. Do you know somebody that when you speak to them, or you run into them, you just feel better. It seems like no matter what they say or the conversations you have, it's always positive, it's always uplifting, it's always inspiring. And to be inspired is well, it's one of my goals. That's why I do what I do. I truly want to help inspire people, because when you inspire someone, you light a spark inside of them. There's a spark that There's a fire that lights up and they say, I can do this. I want to do this. And then they own it. And then they're doing it. It's inside of them. And that is my goal, is to help you to be inspired, to know that whatever situation you're in right now, you can change your perception. You can change the way you view it. You can choose to view it in a positive way and see the lessons, the life lessons that it's brought to you, and move forward in a way that brings wisdom. And then you can share that story with others and help them and inspire them, because that's why we're here. We're all connected, and we're here to help each other and to help each other grow into that space of peace and kindness and compassion and love, because those energies, they will change the world. They will change your life and they will change the world, because once again, you're only one thought away. And we're only one thought away from changing how we view the world. So many times I will hear people say, well, I'm waiting for this to happen, or I'm waiting for that to happen, and then I'll do this, and then I will think that way, and then I'll have the money to do this, and then I will move forward in that way. Change the way you see it, and then it does appear differently to you. If you wait for something to change, that's just not going to happen. You need to take your power back and change the way you view it, and then suddenly it changes. I'm thinking about right now a person, thinking about a person that maybe you just don't get along with really well. If you choose to change the way you view them, it will change within you how you perceive them. And that can build a bridge. It can build a bridge of understanding to help move through any situation. And, that's really what my goal is in putting these things out on Facebook, putting this out on YouTube Live, and reaching the masses, because to inspire the masses to move forward in a positive way. I'm just here to talk to you. That's what I'm here to do. And I appreciate any feedback that you can give me. Like I said, this is new for me to do this year. I've just been inspired to do it, and I'm just going to put it out here, and we're just going to talk about different situations that can help you to move through to that positive space of moving forward with your life. Well, I think my time is up. Again, I'm Cheryl Piper Snyder. Well, I'm going forward to Cheryl Piper, but it's such a habit for me to say my hyphenated name. There, I did it. CherylPiper.com, Ascended Unity. You can also find me at alchemyholisticlifecoach.com. Please like my page on Facebook. You can find me at Cheryl Piper Sends Love. And you can also send me a request to join my Facebook exclusive community, and that is Alchemy Exclusive Community. Please send me a request to join, because I'm working on getting that going, so that this is a space where everybody can talk and be inspired and help each other, because that's what it's all about. I'll see you on Wednesday, where we continue our conversation. Have a wonderful day.